said, it was inspired by the 6.7, yes. So the same kind of font was used. As well, as you know, as you can see, Pentax tend to use the format size as a number for the camera. So for instance, Pentax 17 is the 17 is because it's half frame, so it's 17 millimeters, so they use 17. 6.7 is because it's the format. 6.45 as well was the format. So yeah, they did use as well the 110, Auto 110 was used for that reason. And so they kept that tradition. As you know, Pentax is traditional. They try to innovate, but keep also the tradition going and the heritage. Hi, Analog. Thank you for joining. So yeah, so this is the reason why they use the 17 as a number and as well the same font. Of course, there are many other things a few other things that I like to mention, such as the winding mechanism is from the P30.
All
so
right.
it's inspired, yeah, it's inspired from the Pentax P30, which was, as you know, one of the latest SLRs released by Pentax. Another thing that I like to mention is the lever. The winding lever is the same as the Pentax Auto 110. If you can see it, it's very, very similar to that. So they got inspired by their own cameras from the past, and they created this nice design and mechanical as well feel, because it's very mechanical as the Pentax tradition.
It's actually slightly smaller than the Auto 110, strangely enough. Yeah, that's the 110, and that's the 17. So it's the 110 is actually bigger, the winder.
Yeah, the reason why, while I was speaking with TKO, with the designer in Paris, when I was the last time speaking with him, he was telling me that they actually perfected the lever in a way that the throw is not like it's quick to be winded. And in fact, I was shooting literally yesterday with it, because I was there was an interview that I was attending, and basically the interviewer was noticing that when I was shooting with the Pentax 17, you get this nice short throw. So when you are out and about and shooting quickly on, let's say, street photography, it does help, in my view. Yeah.
And you notice, Antonio, the demographic you've got here is exactly the 17-year-old hipster.
Yeah, Andrew. Yeah, absolutely. The thing is, I see many people from any age, to be honest, Andrew. It's of course people from 40 up as well, above 40 are enjoying it because the nostalgic feel. But I think everybody's really engaged with the 17. I spoke with many photographers of different ages, so I think Pentax really nailed it with this camera, because it is a camera that can appeal everybody. And that actually, Andrew, that is also part of another question I got from Karen. So, for instance, what black and white film would you recommend for street photography for a beginner on a budget? I mean, beginner on a budget, I would say the two main film that I would recommend, which I also use, one of them I use often, which is the Ilford XP2 400, because it's a C41, so it's a standard development color film, which you can develop in any place with the C41 processing. So that is not the cheapest film, but then it will save you money with developing, because
That's a really interesting answer, because that's one that most people won't think of. But of course, it's very fine grain, and the granularity decreases. I think it's like the opposite way around. As you increase the speed, I'm sure the grain gets finer, as opposed to traditional grain films. So and then of course, folks who aren't developing at home, they can just use Analog Wonderland.
Indeed. And yeah, spot on there. And I agree. And I like the grain of the XP2. It's fine. I would say dry as well, kind of sharp grain. The contrast is also quite balanced in my view, so it's quite nice contrast on that film. So, and it's also versatile if you think about it. It's 400. It's not a 100 or 200. It's more versatile.
Yeah, I've heard some people saying really bright light to use like an ND4 filter, 2-stop filter, because of the maximum shutter speed of 1/320th, is it? That you might run into some difficulties under really bright light. I've only used it at 200 so far, the Cat Labs stuff. But what's your comment? What are your thoughts on using in really bright conditions with 400 speed film? ND filter?
Yeah, definitely ND filter, Andrew. And also, I'm a big fan of polarizing filters as well. So I would say definitely a polarizing filter. A red filter as well would help.
Yeah, got that.
So yeah, of course, stacking filters is not ideal, but sometimes you have to do what you have to do. So put the red filter on, put the polarizing filter, and experiment with it. That's the fun of film, isn't it? To have to not see what you get, and then go back and have a look at your pictures and say, especially with the 17. Not because I work for the company. I'm really impressed by the results. Really, really good. Yeah. So actually, someone, I believe Kasim just made a comment about Samopan and then also Katmir, which was actually, Kasim, was in my list. Katmir 400 is one I recommend on a budget, and I think it's a good choice as well, especially for the price of the film. And it's Ilford, so you can't go wrong. What else? What else I wrote? So other choices that I will consider is the Ilford HP5, also nice for black and white photography. One of my favorite film, along with the XP2, is the Tri-X 400, the Kodak Tri-X 400. Big fan of it. I love the grain. I love the look. The contrast of the Tri-X is really, really solid. It's my favorite, along with XP2.
I don't know Antonio, what feedback you've had from people making prints in the darkroom, and I've seen some that Paul McKay shared. I don't know whether they're darkroom or inkjet prints, but I've just made my first print in the darkroom. I mean, you can't really see on there, but I did it because of the close-up thing. My wife's ear with her earring, and this is only 5x7, and I'm sure it can go a lot bigger. But this is printed up on grade 2 in the darkroom, and it's the Cat Labs 320 film, which I rated at 200. And I'm super impressed. You can probably just see that, the ear, but of course it opens up all these creative storytelling possibilities. And as far as I'm concerned, the darkroom print is the reason for doing all this, really, as far as I'm concerned. But and then people might want to think of different films for scanning and for darkroom printing, because some are more suitable than others, I guess.
Yeah, Andrew, you are anticipating what I was talking about next, which is about the lens of this camera. But yeah, connecting what you were saying, it just sky's the limit with half frame. Like you were saying, it's fantastic to have 2 frames in one print. Again, talking about the darkroom printing, I haven't seen much, to be honest, in the flesh, in real life. I believe Paul, like you said, did some printing in the lab. As far as I know, the feedback is excellent. Actually, I think it will shine this camera performance, especially the lens performance, along with the new film technology, will shine, especially doing the full-on analog process, in the sense that you do print in a darkroom instead of scanning and printing and so on. So absolutely, I think, I know this is a small screen where we are looking at your picture printed, but what I can see is like some air. You can see the air literally one by one. You can split the air.
You can see the hairs, and you can see the earring really sharp, and Really, I'm very impressed, I have to say. And I don't know how. I mean, I don't tend to print much bigger than 10 by 12 maximum. So, but I think this would go up to 10 by 12. And certainly, if you used a modern film like a Delta 100 or something, then certainly, yeah. But yeah, very impressed.
Yeah, Andrew, actually, I'm really curious to see some bigger prints. I did print when I did the last event in Sheffield. I did an event regarding, Pentax and film and all of that. And I took pictures with the Pentax 17, then we scan it and then print it. But there is a limit sometimes with these scanners, especially if you use the 35 millimeter scan for the half frame. So you scan 2 frames on one scan, and it can have a limitation in terms of resolution. For larger prints, I think, like you said, printing in the dark room is the best solution. Although I do recommend, for efficiency wise, I do recommend to scan and print. If you want to go full on and you really want to get the maximum output, one of the best ways is also doing the analog way. But both ways are suitable. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, but good to know, Andrew, that you did that, and thank you for sharing. Then what else? We're talking about the lens as well.
Yep. Antonio, sorry to jump in, but just to go back to resolution and scanning, I do my own stuff. I haven't tried half frame, let's put it that way. So I've only experienced 35 millimeter and medium format 120, and I use a Plus Tech scanner for 35 millimeters and DSLR copy stand for medium format. Are you inferring that the scanner, like the Plus Tech scanner I use, would not be sufficient for half frame? In other words, doing the full 35 millimeter frame and then cropping to half of it for the image? I didn't quite understand what you were implying at that point.
Okay, yeah. So I was implying, Paul, that basically when let's say you use a scanner and you scan on a 35 millimeters format, so it's a full frame format, isn't it? It's 35 millimeters. Yeah. So when you process and scan, when you scan the film on scanners, and you got the frame that is for 35 millimeters, you're basically scanning 2 frames at each time. So because it's half frame, all right? So half frame is actually half of the frame of 35 millimeters frame. Hence why the camera is called Pentax 17, because it's half the frame. Okay.
So if you can set the scanner up, the reason I do darkroom printing is because I'm useless at scanning. But if you set the scanner up in such a way, if that's possible, to just focus on the half frame, would that then give a better result?
100%. So this is a very good topic. Yes, it can really give you tremendous resolution if you can focus only on a half frame. That's the reason why I do recommend, if you got the facilities to scan specifically the half frame, it's absolutely ideal. Yeah.
Okay.
In reality, then I would be better off using my DSLR and the macro lens for scanning rather than a commercial scanner, my own commercial scanner.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's a good solution. What were you saying, Karen?
I was just saying, in the lab we literally have the masks, so they only will scan like one part of the frame at a time, because obviously then it gets the best result.
Yeah, and that's a good point. So as you can see, Analog Wonderland already is adopting the best solution. That's nice to hear, Karen. Other ones, other developers or labs sometimes don't have this kind of facility. But as you can see, if you can find a lab like Analog Wonderland, of course, go for it, and they will give you nice and large scans and high resolution scans. Of course, the macro lens is also one solution, as some of you were saying. But also Kasim K is also commenting, which I will read. I do my own scans on an Epson V500. Sometimes I like to scan 2 half frames at once for the pitch, and sometimes I'll crop for single half frame. Where can I get a half frame mask for flatbed scanners? Where can I get a half frame mask for flatbed scanners? Karen, do you know by any chance? Do you sell it?
I'm not sure if anyone's made a half frame mask for the Epson, to be honest. I imagine it would be one of those things where someone will 3D print it and it will just suddenly appear.
Lomography.
Yeah.
Lomography will, no doubt.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. On the Epson though, I'm sure, can't you tell it that it's 35mm as a mask and then crop it down anyway and then repeat it? It would take longer, but I think you can still do that.
That could be a solution. So yeah, Kasim, you got the answer. You can experiment with the Epson and do that kind of cropping and give the command. I do the exact method, it just takes longer. Okay, yeah. So we understand. Kasim, we understand. All right. So probably you will find some masks on eBay or things like that. Ah, there we go. He's showing Peter.
I got the Valoy Easy 35 with a.
What's the name?
It's a Valoy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it's got a built-in light source, so you should be filming. But I've got a 35mm macro lens on my K70. But I don't know if they make a half frame adapter yet. I've just bought a 110 adapter for it, for scanning 16mm, but so it probably would fit through the wrong way, wouldn't it?
Yes. So that's a good solution, and maybe they will make a mask. We don't know, but that's thank you, Peter. Yeah, that's good.
It's a good system. It works really well. The light's very even across the picture, so you don't need any correction for it. It's all right. I'm quite pleased with it.
That's good to hear. And yeah, hopefully they will make a half frame.
Yeah.
I'm printing my half frame images with a Devere 504. So yeah, that's got a big light source as well.
Yeah.
Nice. One thing I want to mention is the lens. So the lens that was implemented on this camera is the perfecter version of the SPO Mini and the Ricoh Auto Half. So old cameras, SPO Mini was already really popular camera because the lens was excellent, and the Ricoh Auto Half as well had a really strong lens. So it's a lens that is 3 elements in 3 groups, and it's a lens that also is modern, of course, is inspired by those cameras, but is the modern version of it and the perfecter version of it. So 3 elements in 3 groups, and also the HD coating sealed the deal. In fact, when you shoot, I shot lots of pictures in backlit situation and so on. You have very, like the flare, I couldn't see the flare, to be honest. It was amazing. The performance of these lenses are really amazing. And then like Andrew was saying earlier, even with a print that is not massive in this case, but you can, I believe you can print very large with this camera, although it's a half frame, because the lens technology, the film technology has improved. I think you can really print large. So it's interesting because actually you can make an exhibition out of it. And in fact, I'm going to Romania in mid-September. We will do like an event there where there will be a gallery involved, and there will be half frame, so Pentax 17 exhibition with quite large prints. I believe will be either A3 or A2, and it's nice to see because you want to check the quality of it, and you want to be able to print larger. And I don't think there is a big limitation in terms of exhibition as well. It's the best thing, the thing I love about the Pentax 17 and the whole film process is the fact that you print. You tend to print more when you do analog, unless you're using them only for Insta. But I think analog shooters tend to print more. They still love the tactile feel, the process of having the physical picture, and that's actually something I'm a big advocate about, to slow down and really create something tangible. Thanks, Dave, just seeing this, and we'll be getting one. Yes, Dave just said that they will get one of these film. I guess he's referring to the film.
No, it's the half frame adapter for the Veloy.
Okay,
They
great.
actually got one. They must have done it in the last week because they didn't have one last week.
As we speak, they're working on it as we speak. And Pentax, as you can see, to conclude about the printing process, is really interesting that there is a nice community that still love printing. And when I speak with digital photographers I do my seminars and masterclass, I always mention the fact that printing is part of the process, even in digital, because printing really gives you the tactile feel. You see physical image in front of you, which is not the same as an image on the screen. I am working on some exhibitions, and I will prefer to print in this case. In some cases, yes, you could do, if you want to do a really interactive exhibition, you could use the monitors, high resolution monitors, but I think it takes away the whole philosophy about printing, where you get a physical image. There is a uniqueness about having the image there, and it's completely different approach. But I think, yeah, once again, the film photography is all about also printing, so it's nice. And the Analog Wonderland is excellent for that. So what else? Other questions that I got is also the cameras are clearly made. Okay, so the question is also these cameras are clearly made to be serviced and repaired in the future. Are Pentax working with repair and service people around the world and in the UK for the future servicing of the Pentax 17?
Yeah, that was my question. I've forgotten I'd asked that.
And I got the answer. And it's yes, of course, the Pentax 17 was developed. This is an answer from the team that takes care of it and is working on several solutions they implement directly. So this is from the horse mouth. So yes, of course, the Pentax 17 was developed with the ability to be serviced. Currently in Europe and UK, our authorized partners will have the necessary equipment for the complicated repairs. We are still considering how simple repairs can be managed. For example, allowing retailers or new repair center to be able to buy parts and fix cameras with mechanical issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you can see, Pentax and Ricoh has an open-minded kind of philosophy, also different approaches. So Pentax 17 is a camera that is a half frame. So it's really brave, I believe, from Pentax to release a camera that is out of the ordinary, because many people was thinking, everybody wants a full frame. What do you need to do with this half frame? You will reduce the quality. It's not going to be good enough. You cannot print large enough. It's not true. Actually, the formats, in my view, especially in this day and age, are more about the three-dimensionality of the image than the overall printing size. Yes, of course, if you use a large format, a medium format, you will have a larger leeway to print. You can print larger, yes, but as I said, with the Pentax 17, you can still print fairly large. So it's good to have. But yes, they're working on this. They're working on the repairing, and our authorized repair center, John Pies, also we are training them, and things are getting ready to go. But also We are providing all the support needed if anything goes wrong. There are only few units that went wrong so far. Sometimes they also been dropped, to be honest. So this is also one of the causes. But overall, yes. Any question right now? Nope. So
Well, I've
I
got
go.
no, on the construction. There was a YouTube video. I don't know if you saw it, Antonio, where somebody actually stripped it completely into its almost into its parts, and then put it all back together again. And it was extremely impressive about how. And the guy who did it, I don't know who it was. I can't remember, but it's on YouTube. And he was really impressed at how modular and how easy he could just literally strip it apart, and put it back together again. What he did say though was that he talked about the way the lens sort of moves backwards and forwards, and when you peer at it, it does appear to be kind of a bit open to the elements, particularly as the lens goes back into the camera. So would you? I mean, I've stuck a very thin UV filter on there, not because of any fear of damage to the lens necessarily, but in case dust or dirt got in there, because it does seem to be sort of openings, and I wouldn't want to have it on the beach. Not that I'd really want to take it on the beach, and bits of sand find their way in.
The other one's the release hole at the back.
Oh yeah, for the.
It should have really come with a rubber bung. That I think.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
You can get crap in there.
Yeah. So both of you are right in my view, and that to answer to Andrew, definitely I will put, especially if you shoot black and white, to put a red filter on it. First of all, it looks sexy, and second, it's going to protect the lens.
Yeah, you don't always want that contrast, though, do you? Not always, but I take what you're saying.
Not always. But UV filter.
A light yellow filter is probably more sensible.
Light yellow filter or UV filter or even a polarizing filter.
Yeah,
that's what I recommend. But yeah, if you wanna use a filter that is a bit kind of clear filter, the UV like you did, Andrew, spot on. But yeah, the sky is the limit. You can invest in few filters. I remind you that it's 40.5 millimeters filter. So it's quite small filters, but easy to carry. That's a nice thing. About Peter, about the rubber cover for the shutter release, yeah, it's true. It could be integrated in there. I agree. It's a 2.5. I believe it's 2.5 millimeters jack.
Yeah.
So someone can be quite crafty and put something in there. I don't know.
I think so.
Maybe a headphone jack, a small headphone jack. I don't know. Just thinking. Yeah, to protect it. But yeah, it's not gonna be a big deal.
No.
Yes, if you go on the beach, be careful. And yeah, that's the beauty about a mechanical camera, isn't it? It's mostly mechanical. So that's the beauty. Will last a long time. I still have my Spotmatic F, which works like a charm. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else? What design compromise were you forced to make that you wish you could have avoided? There was no compromise. Literally, there was no compromise. And actually, going back to the heritage and what were the choices, the Pentax 17 format, as you can see on the top, if you can, Peter or Andrew, show the Pentax 17. Yeah, you see the top over there. Yeah, that is quite edgy. Like there are some nice, there is a nice shape of the top plate, which is not very sharp in terms of corners. That come from the Asahi Flex 1, which was the first SLR on the Japanese market ever made.
What was that called? Sorry, the what?
Asahi Flex 1.
Okay.
1952, Pentax made the first SLR on the Japanese market, and that was the Asahi Flex 1. And if you see the top plate, is similar to that kind of plate from the Asahi Flex 1, which, in my view, is a brilliant choice. So there were no compromises with the Pentax 17. Pentax deliberately has created an high quality and fun easy to use film camera to let the photographers of all levels enjoy a cost-effective creative tool. So I believe that this was, and I spoke with the designer actually, with TKO. They worked with the older engineers. The designer was saying they didn't compromise on anything. They created deliberately a camera that it was semi-automatic and with the zoom focus, going back with the focus that you were saying, Andrew, the movement of the lens, that zoom focus really helps for people that are beginners, but even to shoot quickly for street photography. I found this camera fantastic for street photography. As you know, I shoot documentary photography and street photography, and I love to use this camera for street. I'm not gonna lie, it's not my main camera. My main camera is the digital camera, it's the Pentax K3 Mark III monochrome. But when I want to shoot film, I look no further. I use the 17, and also sometimes, at times, I use the TLR Auto 66. I don't know if you ever heard of it. It's a Ricoh Auto 66 TLR. It reminds of a Rolleiflex, and I love that camera. Really compact and really nice. But going back to the 17, it's very practical. You got double the shots if you put a 36 frame exposures film in there. You get 72. And actually, that's another thing that connects with Karen's question. Karen sent me a question about if there was anything that was not considered by the company. There is one thing that I can mention. One thing is that you can actually get more than 72 shots. If you get 36 roll, you can get more than 72. I think you talk about in the 76 frames out of it. Because if you don't take the roll to 0, because you're supposed to take the winder to 0 and then start the counting up to 72. Yeah. If you start to take picture earlier, that works. And we will take, I believe, between 76 and 78.
The trouble is, I had too many to fit on my contact sheet in the darkroom, so I don't want more than 72, thank you.
Yeah, it takes a long time to go through them as well, to shoot 72 pictures.
Yeah, well, I've had a Pentax Olympus EE for many years, and I tend to use that just, for panoramic shooting, moving around, and then you get through the film a lot quicker.
Got it. Yeah, it's true. And yeah, so this is one thing that I think was good to mention. And yeah, the design compromise is, as I said, there is no compromise. Look at it. And it's a very cost-effective, easy to use, portable, lightweight. And if you think about Pentax and Ricoh, which, as many of you know, Ricoh owns Pentax, makes cameras that are quite the extremes. Just because it makes sense. If you get a smaller camera that is half frame and a larger camera that is another format, is interesting to have two different formats, to go to the extreme instead of being in the middle, like many other manufacturers doing. And nothing wrong with the full frame. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind like full frame. It's a nice format that many people use. But yeah, I think the extremes have a bigger difference between them in terms of look, aesthetic, because it's also aesthetic-wise, there is a big difference. Tonal range sometimes, but this is more down to the film. But yeah, the aesthetic.
6x7 is what you need. Just something a bit easier. Something a bit easier to use than this monster.
Yes.
I'll leave that with you.
Yeah. Anybody else? Any question? Come on, think about it. You got some questions? Don't be afraid. You can write a message if you don't want to talk.
So what about nearly every YouTube video I've watched, and I've watched nearly all of them because it's kind of addictive. The biggest complaint is winding that little program lever on when you change your settings. Easy for your thumb to catch it. when you want. I find that if I leave it on the standoff position, then it's not such a problem. But I've still, even with the standoff, I've still moved it from P to something else, night mode or something, with my thumb caller. Someone said, why couldn't you have made a little lock on it to like the ISO dial? You know, you have a little release button. Because that,
Andrew, the thing is,
like gorilla thumbs.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, if we put the lock, people will say, "Why did you put the lock?" That's how it works. Yeah. If you put the lock, people ask about not having the lock. If you don't put it,
I think
people ask the lock.
You only need one person to mention it on a YouTube video, and then everybody picks up on it. You see, so that's the only reason I was saying.
Yeah, no, I see. No, I'm just joking there, but I think definitely people always want different things. So That's the thing. What else? I want to say one thing that also Karen asked about something that many people I think overlook. This crowd here, like this group that is attending now, I don't think is not noticing. But the exposure compensation is a cracking feature on this camera. It's absolutely spot on, because not many people rely on manual settings to have their exposure as they wish. Of course, if the light doesn't change, using manual mode does make sense if you want to have a specific setting. But on the other end, I think relying more on exposure compensation is a very effective way to be quick on choose your exposure for the specific scene. For instance, I love exposure compensation because when you shoot backlit, many times you want to compensate for it, or if you are in a darker environment, you want to increase the exposure. You can easily do that. So it does give you a really nice and easy to use, intuitive way to balance your exposure. And even for the most experienced photographers, working on exposure compensation instead of relying always on the other modes, it does give you that freedom, the freedom to just focus on the subject instead of focusing all the time on the settings, because there is this setting anxiety. Let me see, Kasim is throwing some questions. Let me have a look. Okay, I have a Pentax 105R point and shoot, which has exposure compensation. It is such an amazing feature. That's it, Kasim. Agreed. Everyone, I think, agree.
I think because it's got third of a stop increase, it means that on your ISO dial, whilst you've got 125 and 160, you've only got between 200 and 800. You've only got 400. So if you wanted for some reason to use this Cat Labs film at 320, you can easily do that because you've got third of the stop compensation between 200 and 800. So you could put it on 400 and then increase the exposure compensation by 1 or 2 clicks to give you 320. I think I've said that the right way.
No, we understood, and this is absolutely the point. You don't need to push and pull the film. You can do it in camera on demand, and it's amazing. Like, you can really nail the exposure as you wish and adjust as you wish. So it's quite interesting, especially with film photography, and that's why they put so much emphasis, I believe. They put a specific dial for it, which is another mechanical thing, component, which I think it does help.
Sorry, I was photographing the lens cap.
Yeah,
I think
that's the good thing.
For me,
that's the good thing is you got the LED flashing lights at the back.
Yeah.
It tells you if you are doing something that you wasn't supposed to do.
It's been really fun using it this last 10 days because it's such a capable little camera. It's and I've had it with me all the time. You know, whether that little bit of flash or the close-ups, it's it can do pretty much anything, and that's been the fun thing, and it's kind of reinvigorated me, you know.
Good.
What's been your like favorite setting? Like that's what I'm interested in. Like anyone that's got it, like what setting are you actually using most often?
I tend to leave it. I've had it on the auto mode when I've just been walking around, because that'll always try, and that disregards the first two distance scales, doesn't it? So I reckon everything from like 5 or 6 feet onwards will be normally in focus. But then the normal daylight P mode I've used quite a lot, and then I've been experimenting a bit with the bokeh thingy bob, and then indoors I think the intelligent flash system seems to work really well. I've not tried that shutter lag setting yet, but just the yellow P seems to fire off under backlit scenes. I mean, is the camera, Antonio, looking, if you're using this and you've got somebody, if I've got it on the P in yellow and you've got someone, I'm staring at our garden room there, and if my wife was there with all the daylight behind her, there's obviously quite a lot of light coming in, but the camera's clever enough to work out that it needs a bit of flash to throw into the light. Is that right? Into the face?
Correct. That's a very good point. Actually, I used that feature yesterday. So basically, when you have a very bright background, first of all, the camera will compensate when you use P mode. Okay, we are using P mode in the yellow bit of the dial. That is with the flash. So just to remind everybody, the white part of the dial is without the flash. The yellow part of the dial is with the flash, and then there is auto mode. Okay, so the P mode in the yellow part of the dial is basically flash shooting in P mode with the flash. That means that even if it's a backlit situation, actually it's best for backlit situation, because you can do some fill-in flash photography. So you use the flash, it's going to fill in, it will expose in a balanced way. So what I prefer to do, I usually go between 1 and 1 to 1/3 of a stop to decrease the background brightness and to try to preserve a little bit the highlights. So I'm experimenting actually as we speak on this, because I want to get not too washed out sky at the back. I'm not a big fan of washed skies. Of course, the tonal range is limited and dynamic range is limited. Cannot make miracles, especially with film. But that's the beauty of it. And HDR is, I don't like it in any case. So HDR is for phones more than photography, I believe. But
the second yellow flash mode with the moon on it, that keeps exposing for the background, even with like a burst of flash into the face, and then it'll keep exposing up to 4 seconds for the background ambience. You can get someone sharp, and then the rest of it, depending if they're moving or not, they'll be exposed. But they could go a bit blurry, which might be fun or not, you know.
It is. I haven't tried that yet, but it's like a slow speed sync. It's really interesting. It's for up to 4 seconds, as Andrew was saying, and it does give you that nice old school kind of shooting in the evening, where you get the flash that freezes the subject, and then it gives you more. It allows the film to be exposed for the background as well. So it does help. I think it's a really fun feature that this camera has.
Yeah, I think Paul tried a few of those, because when we first got the camera to like test out and have fun with, everyone at work went out for a meal and he took a bunch of pictures with the flash in the face, and then, you know, whatever was going on in the background kind of all blurry. So there's a few of those going around that Paul had tested out. It was it was a fun way to do it. I think it would be really good at a wedding if it was like the dancing part.
Yeah.
Yeah, so everyone head to the Analog Wonderland blog. I'm sure you watch it already, but have a look there. I'm sure Paul put some nice images. Analog with Albi. I apologize for not being on camera. Let me see. Albi, let's see what he's saying. Albi is saying, I apologize for not being on camera. I am in my comic shop at the moment. No problem, Albi. Actually, we appreciate you joining. And you are interacting. That's what is important. So yeah, but yeah, on the blog, I'm sure you can find some images with flash slow speed sync as well.
Yeah.
Any other question? I have there we go. Kasim is on fire. Let's see what he's saying. Kasim K again. I have an Hector H35 R frame and Ricoh 3D camera that I use at weddings, events, and it's very fun to use. Okay, Kasim, thank you for sharing. That's nice. It's good to use. It's good to use this kind of features when they are available. And I think the wedding or events in general is really good to use the slow speed sync. It makes a difference. It makes the picture look different, and as well, it will help with the film because unless you use 3200 ASA, 3200 ASA, it's going to be quite difficult to capture those images. So.
Yeah, and the Pentax goes up to 6400 anyway, so you can quite easily push something like HP5 up to that and see how that comes out.
Well, yeah. I mean, in theory, 3200 with 2 stops of pushing ability gives you 6400, 128.
12,800.
Yeah, a lot.
That's a big. That's a great comment, Karen. Because for everyone, I haven't tested it yet, but that's amazing. You can go to 12,800 ASA, and kill the grain in there, like do crazy things. But it's fun, isn't it? Like at the end of the day, why everybody? Not everybody. There are a lot of photographers that are shooting very clean. In general, even digital, especially digital, actually, analog shooters, you like the grain. I'm a big fan of the grain. That's why I shoot monochrome with the K3 Mark III because it's the only camera that gives me the grain that I really want. But so many photographers shoot so clean that it looks like you're looking at 8K screen, and I think it just takes the fun out of it. It's good to have some grain. Why not? It just gives some character to the image, and that's the key, isn't it? To have a interesting image instead of having an image that at the end of the day it's just nice to look at, nice and clean, aseptical, clinical. It doesn't make any difference. We are photographing to express creativity, not to just have a clean image that is not meaningful. I think the thing is using the Pentax 17. Actually, you made me want to now just push my film and go +2 at night and
that's
see
your
what's going to
homework.
happen. It's homework. There we go.
Yeah.
It goes to homework now. So it's gonna be the weekend homework that we need to do. Actually, I'm gonna bring it with me on a shoot on this weekend. So it's gonna be interesting. Anybody shooting this weekend? Any plan before we wrap up?
Me.
Yep.
No.
I'll have it with me. We're going out to taking my mother-in-law out for the day, so I'll get some action shots.
Okay.
Do you find using the portrait format on half frame more interesting than the traditional landscape format on half frame cameras?
That's very interesting question. First of all, I shoot a lot in portrait mode, which is very unorthodox for a documentary and street photographer. Which, when I saw the half frame, it looked like is how my brain works. So it does help. But funny enough, with the Pentax 17, I use the vertical mode, the portrait mode, because it's by standard is vertical mode. For those of you, for some people that is in this call that don't know, the Pentax 17 has got half frame, so it becomes vertical, and that's why the viewfinder is vertical in portrait mode. Rotating the camera allows you to do landscape mode. But yeah, going back to your question, Paul, I like the portrait mode. I use it, of course, in with the Pentax 17. But funny enough, I found myself shooting portrait mode, which gives me the landscape because I shoot portrait. Actually, you know, so it's interesting. It's yeah, but yeah, I would say with the Pentax 17, I do 50-50, 50 portrait and 50 landscape. Which is unusual. I usually do, I would say, 60-40 for the landscape with digital SLR. But yeah, which is a lot because many people, who doing documentary photography, you should mostly shoot landscape. But
Yeah.
I don't really care, to be
Or you
honest.
can just use square format and then don't sweat over it, you know.
Yeah,
Well, I think the portrait format is highly underrated.
Yeah,
I agree.
Even for landscapes and things like that, it's underrated.
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely with you. Yeah. And what he's saying, there are people commenting, so I'm gonna check the comments.
Somebody going to a football game.
Yeah, Brig North Italian Car Festival this weekend. Okay, cool. Kasim, where is it? I wanna know. So Peter Brunskill, Barley versus Blackburn, Rovers tomorrow. P17 is going with me. Excellent, Peter. Yeah. I think I remember your name and surname. I think we met, Peter, somewhere.
I think I've been on a previous call. I think that's.
Yeah. We spoke about you had do you have a K33?
I know I've got a K70.
Yeah, I think we did 1-to-1 in the past.
Yes, I think
Yeah. That's in Bring North in the West Midlands, just outside of Birmingham. Okay, so a little bit too far, but yeah, thank you, Kasim.
There's a steam railway there as well.
Huh?
There's a steam railway there as well. Pretty sure.
Interesting.
I was actually thinking about trying to do some astrophotography this weekend, but I don't know if the Pentax 17 is going to be able to do that. So
Put it on
see.
B. Put it on B mode and on a
Yeah.
clear night and just photograph the stars. Leave it open for an hour. See what happens. You get some star trails.
Yeah.
I don't know if an hour's long enough. Actually, I've never done it. Maybe
No,
longer.
I'm not sure.
But
what I'm thinking is, hear me out. Don't put it. Okay, you can put it in on a tracker maybe, and something can be in some way or another with the release button. With the release cable, could be done. But what you can do, you can put a 3200 ASA XP2 in there, and then push it to 12,800, and then expose it for, I think, the threshold with the 37. I remind everybody that the camera has a 25 millimeters lens on it, which is 37 millimeters equivalent. Why I'm saying this is because, Karen, it's fairly wide. It's a moderate wide angle going towards the normal kind of focal and the standard. So you can use bulb mode with the 3.5 aperture for about, would say, probably you got 7-8 second maximum, or 5 second, I think, 5 to 7 second threshold, and then you see what happens.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I'll see what happens.
It's gonna look good. I think it's gonna look very good. Yeah, interesting experiment. Let me know what's gonna happen.
Aaron, do you this hour's conversation? Do you make it available on the Analog Wonderland website somewhere if folks want to go back in and see?
Yeah, so what we normally do is it'll probably take a couple of weeks because I'm by myself at the moment as well. But we edit it and then we'll put it up on YouTube.
Okay.
So it might be a little while, but yeah, it will eventually be somewhere where other people can like catch up on what's been said.
There's a very nice Pentax 17 Facebook group, which is super positive, and I think they'll. I did a photograph a minute ago to say that I was chatting with folks, and they said, "Well, is there somewhere we can see it?" I said, "I don't know, probably Analog Wonderland."
Okay, yeah, I'll check it out, and then when it's live, I'll post it in there so people can watch it.
Okay, very good.
Karen, so you're recording right now, yeah?
Yes.
She hopes
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah,
So
so you'll have to
Kazi-
let me know if I need to cut out any of the stuff that you have.
Yeah, there's all the stuff about the new 6x7.
Yeah, cut down that one. I didn't say anything about the format. Actually,
I've already told the Facebook group. It's too late.
Okay, guys, it was good to see you. I was working for Pentax. I don't work for Pentax anymore. Just to let you know. I'm joking. but yeah, so we reached the end of this call, which was excellent. Karen, you want to wrap up?
Yeah, well, I just wanted to say thank you so much for joining us, Antonio. It's been really, really good.
It's a pleasure, guys, to see you.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining,
Yeah.
and then
Thank you so much.
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. Enjoy shooting, and probably we'll see face to face at some point, maybe at the photography show. We definitely
Yes.
have a stand there in London,
Yeah.
so we definitely see you there to come visit. Who knows? Maybe something else will be in the making.
Brilliant.
Who knows?
Fantastic.
Watch
All
this
right.
space. Thank
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Thanks, Karen.